Carol Beaumont.
Much, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to rise and speak on Clause 11 and on the issue of honorary members. And I have to say, just by way of general comments, that it has been fascinating, this whole Royal Society debate, and learning about the different categories of membership I think is particularly interesting, and I am a little disappointed I didn't get to speak on Clause 10 on companions, because it really, yes, thank you for giving me a call now, but because I do think the companion category is a particularly interesting one, and we're talking about people who are outstanding. Now, the honorary member category, according to the website of the Royal Society, an honorary member, the Council may grant honorary membership to an ordinary member who, in the Council's opinion, has rendered eminent service to science, technologies, humanities or the society. Now, I was looking at the next category, which was honorary fellow, and honorary fellows are not normally resident in New Zealand. And I wondered if the same was true for honorary members, but it doesn't say so, and I'm hoping my colleague Grant Robertson, the fine member who has brought this bill to the House, can clarify this point for me, because the honorary fellow is not normally resident in New Zealand, but it doesn't say that in terms of an honorary member. But when I looked at the list of honorary members, and I'll just repeat the definition, they are ordinary members who, in the Council's opinion, has rendered eminent service to science, technology, humanities or the society. It doesn't say that they are not normally resident in New Zealand, but as I scrolled down the list, most of them seem to not live in New Zealand, if not all. So perhaps Mr. Robertson could clarify that for me. Now, I was going to tell the House about the gender breakdown of companions, and I thought I'd still do that and tell you about the gender breakdown of fellows, members, because I think it's really important to look at these issues. Now, in terms of companions, there are 35 current companions of the Royal Society of New Zealand. 9 of them are women and 26 are men. I'm afraid the ratio looks a whole lot worse, though, for honorary members. There are 56 honorary members at the moment of the Royal Society of New Zealand. 53 of the 56 are male and 3 are female. Now, that's not particularly good gender statistics. Now, of course, that may reflect the fact that, and I don't want to be stereotypical, but it may reflect the fact that in the past women perhaps haven't been encouraged into the science sorts of areas, and that in fact we probably do have a gap in terms of the number of women who have perhaps trained in what you would call your traditional sciences. And my colleague Moana Maki, who is of course a scientist and, as we now know, a professional member of the Royal Society of New Zealand, is in fact a scientist, and she is nodding, so I think what she's telling me is that in fact it still is relatively rare for women to study the traditional science areas and perhaps to get to those higher levels. And certainly I've seen that myself in visiting a number of science companies where you can see a lot of women at the technician level, as Ms Mackey says. So of course one of the things I am sure that the Royal Society is very aware of is the need to encourage more young women into the sciences, and in fact we need more New Zealanders generally in the sciences. We know that it's a gap and we know it's absolutely critical to our economic future, but perhaps Mr Robertson could tell me if he is aware of any particular efforts being made in terms of encouraging more women into the sciences by the members of the Royal Society, and in particular I'm wondering if the role of companion or fellow is to do that, just that. Now, our honorary members, as I'm saying, I'm pondering as to whether they are people based outside of New Zealand, and I'm wondering, if not, what is the specific difference between an honorary member and an ordinary member, because certainly it's not quite clear to me on the Royal Society's website what that distinction is, and it just says that they are granted honorary membership to an ordinary member for eminent service. So, but we know that eminent service at a certain level you become a companion potentially. So what is the distinction between an honorary member and an ordinary member, or indeed a professional member like my colleague Moana Maki? So just obviously the clause that we're looking at, clause 11, has made a consequential change effectively to take account of the humanities being included.
Chris Farpoy.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair.